I fear not the dark itself, but what may lurk within it. Welcome to Lurk, bringing you creepy, strange, and bone-chilling stories, with your hosts, Tim Harrison and Jamie Jackson.
Hey Lurkers, it's Jamie.
And Tim. So Jamie, we get to do something different today.
Yes, today you're doing the talking.
What?
Yes.
I get to talk?
You get to talk.
But you're so much better at it.
But you need to talk more anyway.
Yeah, but okay. So, I was going to say something really funny, but you told me I got to be, adulty over here.
I didn't say you had to be adult. I said you can't use the F word.
That's adulting, okay? That's adulting.
Okay.
Yeah, so I get to talk today.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's about the haunted house I lived in.
In West Virginia?
It's in Virginia. But to be fair, it's in that weird spot of Virginia where it's like right up on West Virginia and right up on Maryland. It's like...
Right. It's almost right at the line.
Which
I know,
is weird.
yeah.
Which is very weird.
It's not weird. It's just where it happens to be. But yeah, totally.
It's weird for me.
It would be a question about whether it was in Virginia or West Virginia.
You know why it's weird for me?
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
couldn't think of something quick enough?
No, not at all. My brain ain't functioning this morning.
Neither is mine.
All right, so let's start back from the very beginning, okay? So we moved to Virginia as, I guess you can say, like, I don't want to say a last resort, but it was a kind of an out there house. Like, okay, it was too good of a deal to pass up on, so we moved out there. To give you kind of like a picture of a scene, you pull off into the road. It's on a gravel road. The house is like plopped on the side of a hill, okay? And the grass is like 4 feet tall.
When we
moved there.
Okay.
So no one's been out there to do any kind of like maintenance, any kind of upkeep to the house. So you know how normal stairs are concrete slabs and like they lead their way up gradually?
Right.
Like, nah, these are like old rock stairs.
Okay.
Like someone cut into the earth, laid rock on there, and it was not like put in there safely. Let's just say that. So that's just your scene off the bat, and which is a little weird because after we started cleaning up the land, so we started cutting down the grass, of course, upkeeping, we started noticing like weird things. Weird thing right off the bat. There's a shed that's up above a little bit. There's a hill that goes, so it was on a slanted slope, and at the top it kind of like flatted out. Like, I guess you can say it was like a flat area on a hill. I don't know how to describe that any better. Is that kind of how you can describe that?
I think so. I haven't seen it yet, so.
Oh, we will see it.
We are going.
But then there was like a little hill that goes up, about 10, 12 feet.
Behind the house?
Yeah. So like
okay.
It's right near the woods. And there's a shed, like a full-blown brick shed.
Now, was it as old as the house, or do you think it was a little bit newer than the house?
I would say a little bit newer.
Okay.
And the only reason I would say a little bit newer is because it was concrete, like the slabs.
Like cinder block?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what year those were made, but I don't know. I don't think they would. The house outside of it was wood, so it was
a log house.
Yeah, it was genuinely an older looking house too.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that by the color and also the area.
Yeah.
We'll jump into that in a minute, but
it is a log house. Like, that sounded like a question, but I know that it's a log house because I looked it up. So it is a log home, and 1800s roughly.
I believe, yeah.
Okay,
I believe. And
so yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You're more than welcome to edit this out because I'm asking you. I was reading it was part of a slave plantation. Am I correct?
I don't have any information on that yet. I can neither confirm nor deny.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about that. We'll bring that up, I guess, towards the end, like where we would do conclusions.
Yeah. What
information we've gotten so far. So.
Most definitely. All right. So, but this shed's like up in the woods, hidden in the back, and we don't know why. It's A, is it ours? B, why is there a random shed then if it's not ours plopped near the house? We're just kind of curious about all of it. There's no fence. There's no nothing that indicates anything. There's no door. The roof is destroyed. So it's like, what do you put in there? So my mom's boyfriend, and you can say I, because he likes doing projects with me, I guess, decided to put up a fence, put a door on there, fix up the roof, basically make it a spot for dogs. And we had, at that time, I want to say 2 pit bulls, but the mom, which name was Brandy, had a litter of 12. So, we had a lot of dogs at the time before we gave them away. So they do play a role here. That's why I'm laying the premise now for you.
Gotcha.
So we had 2 dogs at the time. We fixed everything up. Everything's all hunky-dory for about the first month. But that's in my eyes. So the great thing is when working with you, you're allowed, I'm allowed to kind of reflect a little bit. So I got a chance to talk to him more about it. Because I don't know, they didn't bring it up much. So I asked him, like, hey, was there anything weird going on in this house as soon as we moved in? And immediately my mom was like, yeah, that house made you feel when you walked in, you don't belong.
So that was from day one.
From day one. She actually got to the point where she would say that she didn't unpack half our stuff for a reason.
Really?
Yeah.
So she didn't even fully move in. She left
100%.
stuff still packed up.
And there's a story about that too, which is mind-blowing to me, because looking back again, I would say we moved in there probably in the 2000s, maybe between 2000 and 2002 we kind of moved in there. They kind of give you all age preference here. That puts me about like 6 or 8.
I'm sorry. Because, we were talking about finding this. I know we're going to talk about some of this a little bit later, but it's just funny because in discussing on finding this, and Kelly, who I've mentioned in other episodes, my cousins in other episodes, lives not far from here, from where this house is. So talking to her and just trying to come up with a game plan on finding the house and this and that. And I'm telling her things, and I had to say, this isn't in what we would consider our past. So we're talking like 40 years ago in our past. I don't think it's that long for Tim.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
So it's just funny you say 2000, and I'm thinking, yeah, that really wasn't very long ago.
No, and what's even crazier about it is that apparently there was more going on than I even realized. And my mom and them just played it off so well. They openly told us, they're like, I don't know if you remember this or not, but when we moved in, we also had to do a lot of painting, a lot of cleaning up. Like, the house hasn't been lived in for years. And my mom's boyfriend at the time was like, it's whatever. I guess no one wanted to live here. My mom was like, no, it was creepy. Like, we were like, everything about the house was creepy.
So you guys move in and immediately have to start renovating, for
basically
lack of a better word.
Yeah.
You're not doing a full-blown renovation, but it's cosmetic.
Yeah,
you have
painting.
to do cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, and here's the one thing that kind of, I guess you can say, made me, when my mom was talking about it, made me feel a little weird, was that we've done stuff like this before to houses, right? Mm-hmm. We moved in and we had to fix up houses or just kind of go with the flow until we get enough to adjust it or whatnot. And which some people are like, that's not how you live. Look, okay, get over it. But my mom said that she did not like it, like, at all. Like, there's nothing about this house that she liked. Not a single thing about it. She said doing this made her feel weird. Cleaning up the house made her feel weird. She didn't like being in the house alone. So all of this stuff is happening within the first 30 days. Like, she immediately starts feeling like this. My mom's boyfriend gets up at like 4 a.m. to go to work. So, from a decent amount of time, she's home alone with the kids.
Right.
And so we're young. We don't know what is going on currently. We get made aware pretty quickly. But
I'm gonna interrupt you.
No,
so
go ahead.
I want to know specifically who's living here. So
Yeah.
It's your mom and her boyfriend.
Yep. Myself.
You.
My brother.
Who is older than you,
A
correct?
year and a half older than me. Yep.
Okay.
My little sister, who is 2 years younger than me, going on 3, just about 2.5, 3. And then you have my little brother and sister.
Okay, so there's 5 of you?
There's 5 kids.
5 kids, 2 adults.
Yep. And then my brother, who's the oldest, comes in later, right before we move.
Okay, so your oldest brother ends up moving in.
Yeah, but I don't think he was around too much for the crazy parts of it. He was around for the tail end when we left.
Okay.
So the original 5 of us that were there, my brother at the time was the oldest. You can cut this or not. Should I say their name or no?
Richard?
Yeah.
He's the one that likes everything on Facebook.
Should I say his?
Richard's my best friend because he likes every post that I make on Lurk.
Funny fact, his nickname is Itch.
Really?
Itch.
I'm sure he's going to love that you said that on air.
That's fine.
On air. It's not. We're not live, but I'm not editing it. So.
But they also kind of give you a little bit, like, I guess you can say, lay of the land a little bit more. So due to this house, my mom and my mom's boyfriend had their room. My sister shared a room with, at this time, the littlest sister. So the girls were together.
The girls are together.
My brother and I were together. And my older brother kind of, when he would come visit every now and again, would stay in a room with the littlest.
The youngest brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and Richard are together.
Yep.
Your younger brother is by himself.
Basically.
And your two sisters are together.
Yeah.
Are all the bedrooms upstairs?
Yes, every single bedroom's upstairs.
Okay.
It's actually funny that you bring that up. So when you walk into the house, again, we're still renovating at this point in time. I guess you can say cleaning it up or whatnot. When you walk up in the house, and just period, everything makes a noise. Okay?
Right, it's old. So,
right.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when we get a little later into this. So everything makes a noise here. So as we are going into the house, cleaning it, it always sounded like somebody was walking around, even from the beginning. We don't know if it was somebody. At the time, we always thought it was just somebody walking around, like one of us cleaning up or doing something like that. And our family, how big it was, and again, the times are different. You gotta remember, this is crazy to say it's 21 years to 18 years ago. So it's okay to make your kids do work.
It's okay now to make your kids do work. I'm sorry.
Well, you gotta get them off the Xbox or whatever.
They should work regardless.
I agree. But so we're all cleaning up. This is a family effort where everyone's doing something. Now, what's crazy about all of this is that, again, my mom and my mom's boyfriend they think something is going on in the house. Like, they're like, okay, we hear footsteps. There's nobody there. For example, they kept hearing footsteps on the second floor when we were all down on the first floor. They're like, oh, one of the kids is up there running around. And they'll do a head count. Yeah, you do head counts at that point in time.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's 7 of you.
Yeah, you head count. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry. Because my mom, I love her to death. So one thing she used to do is she'll look at me and she'll be like, Richard,
your name is Tim.
Yep, my name is Tim. And she'll start going off like naming everybody else.
I thought she was calling you Richard. I thought you forgot your name.
No, it's just like, she'll say all the boys' names, then finally my name. And she's like, I know who you are.
Oh, so like you get called everybody's name but your own.
Yep.
Yeah, my grandmother used to do that all the time.
It's super funny because she'll still do it sometimes now. And I'm going to put this out there. I'm way, way better looking than all my brothers and sisters, okay? I'm clearly, okay, look, I'm adopted. I know I am. I came from, like, planet good looking. Just joking.
Not Uranus.
But no, but to get more serious
anyway,
here,
back to the story.
You definitely got to cut that part out.
That is
one of the most conceited things I've
I
ever
am
said.
not cutting that out. Are you kidding? I made a Uranus joke. I'm not leaving that out.
Go from planet good looking to Uranus. That's where I'm barely feeling right now.
You can't cut a good Uranus joke.
You can't. Get it? Cut.
All right. Back to the story. So
they always felt something was a little off in the house. Actually, even to the point, to kind of lay the groundwork. Now we're about a month in. House is cleaned up. Everything started looking kind of better now. It's just newer. That's the best way to say it.
It's cosmetically fixed up.
Right, and
it's got makeup on.
It has makeup on till it wakes up. Mm-hmm. Then we got some problems. So my mom is doing laundry. And the way the old houses are set up, that the laundry's in the basement, but the basement is a dirt floor.
Right, because it's old.
It's old.
Yeah.
So, again, like I said, my mom did not unpack half our stuff. Our clothes and stuff were there, but I'm talking like her pictures and all this other stuff. So half the basement is filled with our stuff, and we were always kind of like, when are you going to unpack? When are you going to unpack? When I get time. That was her biggest thing. Looking back now, she's like, I didn't want to live there.
She didn't want to be there.
Yeah. She said that every time she went down doing laundry, she felt awkward. Well, she went down after about 30 days of us living there, and she's downstairs in the basement putting laundry in the washer, and she says she felt as if someone walked up behind her. So she turned around expecting one of the kids to be there or my mom's boyfriend to be there, and there was nobody there. So she was like, okay, that's a little weird. Whatever, right? She then says, you then hear somebody walk up the steps from the basement to the first floor. That point in time, she gets freaked out for us. She's like, who's in the house? So she takes off upstairs. There's nobody there. This whole situation proceeds to go on almost every time she does laundry.
So every time she's in the basement,
almost
she
every time.
feels like somebody else is with her and then hears them walk up the steps, or a combination.
Is
it the exact same, or is it like
the exact same thing?
So somebody walks up behind her, then walks upstairs.
Almost like a residual, right? It's like it's doing something that has been doing forever,
right?
And then goes up the steps, right? But she said that what made it even more weird was that you felt different, like you felt like literally. Like if I'm touching Jamie right now, like you feel me touching you.
Don't touch me. I'm just kidding.
But she said she felt like something was pushing, like cold air was pushing up on her, and then went up the steps.
I know exactly how that feels.
And it's almost like every single time. Like actually just how you were talking about at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, which won't be in because we've restarted it.
That's fine.
But yeah, you can tell like if you're in a room, you know if somebody's staring at you.
Yeah.
Like a human.
100%.
Like a live person. You can feel that.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to primitive, primal things that you still have that from back when caveman days, so to speak. That it's a protection thing. That if something is hunting you, you can feel that. I think it's an actual thing. But
no, it's primal. You're 100% right.
But you can feel that. And I have felt not just in my own house, but in other haunted locations, you can feel when you're not alone. You know when there is something there, and you can feel when, even if there's not a physical sensation of something touching you, you can tell it's there.
Yeah, and what's even crazier, I feel like moms have a sixth sense. I really do. I think dads have more of a, how do I say it? Like when you have kids, okay, the fathers typically get a little bit more protective than they normally would. But moms have like this weird sixth sense. Like
they've grown you for 9 months. There's a connection.
But,
whether you're, seriously, I agree as a mom.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it opens them up, and I feel like they see or feel a little bit more than they would if you didn't have kids. I don't mean to talk to anyone who doesn't have kids, but it's just like if you're a parent, you kind of get it. Like if it's too quiet in the house, something's going on. Something's going on.
And I don't want to say people who adopt kids or whatever, they have that same sensation.
100%.
I didn't mean to diss somebody who didn't grow a kid.
Right.
But it's, as a parent, you have a connection,
That's it. The point of a parent. That's it. If you're a parent, you feel something, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Even as a parent now, I feel it. So my mom took off upstairs with us. At this point in time, I am not going to lie to you. I was a fat kid.
So was I.
I had me some nice baby rolls, and I'm okay with that. I still have me some nice baby rolls.
So do I.
She would come up the stairs, and she said she would look around the house and ask if my mom's boyfriend came home, and we would be like, no. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, nothing. Like, shake it off and keep doing it. Then, so that goes on. Every time she does laundry, it was just repeat. She does tell my mom's boyfriend this. She tells her boyfriend this. That sounded so weird.
It did, but I knew what you meant.
She tells her boyfriend this. Stepdad. That's easier. Am I allowed to call him stepdad?
You can call him whatever you want.
Hey, I don't know. Some people get weird.
Who cares what other people think? It's your family. You call them what you want.
Wow, that's so real. But I got to be careful what I say on here. People get sensitive.
You only have to worry about your family.
That's fair. All right, so my stepdad. So she asked if my stepdad was home. We were like, nah. So when he does get home, she meets him and tells him, like, hey, what's going on? He kind of gives it like you're crazy. Like, you know what I mean?
So he's not quite believing.
No,
has he had any feelings of weirdness in the house at this point, or is he dismissive of it?
He's dismissive right now. I mean, put it like this, okay? We lived in Maryland all our life. Okay? Be honest, we lived in a general area all our life. So moving out there, he just thought maybe, we're in the woods. She just gets the heebie-jeebies easy. And I love my mom to death, but she does, I guess, from having so many kids, her nerves are a little shot. I'll be honest with you. She'll tell you that because I was a handful. And
I was going to say it, but you already did.
The 3 above me were handfuls also. So, the 3 below me, they're just pain in the necks. I love y'all, but y'all pain in the necks. But
are they the younger ones girls, except for your
2
brother?
of them, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's the boy thing.
Oh, well, I'll be honest with you. So my little brother, and I'll put this out there, is arguably the most chillest dude I have ever met in my whole entire life. I mean, I meet probably hundreds of people a day going to gyms and training people and stuff like that. He is one of a kind. I don't know how to describe it. He's just like a unique little diamond. He's just so, he cares, but then like you talk to him, he's just so chill. He's like, yeah, whatever. And you're like, bro, what the fuck is going on here, you know? Where you got the four of us, you know, high-strung people always running around doing something crazy, and I don't know, we like to argue. Him on the other hand, he's just like, what's up? I'm here. That's the best way to describe it.
Was he born between the two girls?
Yep.
See? Did you see how I figured that out?
It's a little weird you figured that out. Mm-hmm. But what's even, so back to the story, sorry. So my mom's boyfriend dismisses all of it. He's just like, whatever, you know? But what happened about another month afterwards, so we're 2 months in now. My mom still is complaining about feeling as someone's near her or always on her. He wakes up early in the morning and is going one time to work. At this point in time, he thought one of us were awake because he heard footsteps. And actually, to be more exact with it, he said it felt as if, or what he said he cusses a lot, so I'm trying to make sure I
just don't use the F word.
Yeah, well, no, he used a lot more words than F words. He said, you know how when you hear a little kid running, mm-hmm. you hear those little feet like run real fast, mm-hmm. and then you feel like something rushes by you or a little kid rushes by you?
Yeah, you can feel the breeze, so to speak.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said that's what it felt like. So he's looking around for my little brother and sister. Like, he's like, where are they? You know what I mean? So if he's looking around for them, he doesn't see them. He goes, okay. So he goes and checks on all of us. All of us are asleep.
So somebody's running around and...
This man, at 4 o'clock in the morning, while all this is going on, goes to wake my mom up.
Oh,
and tells her what happens. And goes, all right, I'm going to go to work.
Hey, there's a ghost child running around the house. See you later.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
I'll see you around. And
she's not going back to sleep.
She didn't. At all.
There's no way.
Yep. She said, she didn't sleep. And he, at that point in time, he was like, okay, something's going on. So he became more open at that point in time. So fast forward 6 months. We weren't in this house for more than a year and a half. I'll be upfront with you.
Okay.
We weren't there that long. So fast forward 6 months. Okay, so we're 6 months in the house. A common occurrence is footsteps, someone feeling as if someone's up behind you, and most importantly, feeling like someone's always watching you. This is from their perspective. We're little kids. We don't know this. This is actually where my brother and I's story come in. So when you walk into the house, as soon as you walk in the house, you're granted with a stairway to go upstairs to the second floor.
Okay.
Or you can go left and right. Left, there's the living room. But before you get to the living room, there's a very small hallway.
Okay. Very
small. But it leads directly to the kitchen. To the right, dining room, kitchen, circles back around to, I guess you can say, the second dining room.
Like the formal, well, one was probably a parlor.
Yeah, we definitely didn't use it for that.
Most people don't. It was probably like a living room, and like a formal parlor.
Yep.
Back in the day is probably what it was. You had like a formal living room and then like a family room usually.
Okay.
That's not what they called it then. It was but like in my mom's house, there's the living room, which is in the front. That's supposed to be the more formal living room, like when you have guests.
Okay.
And then the back of the house is what was called the family room, which that's where everybody hangs out.
So basically, you can trash that one area and still look good in the front, basically.
Basically, yes. That's
actually a heck of a design.
But they didn't call them by those names, but it was the parlor and the formal parlor or whatever.
That's a heck of a design. I wish I had that now with my kids.
Yeah.
So it's basically a big circle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The stairwell is in the middle of the house.
Yeah, it's plopped right there.
Because I was picturing my house, the stairwell you walk, the front door is on the end of the house. So you walk in, the stairway is same thing right in front of you, but that's the wall.
Okay.
So yours, the stairwell is in the middle, rooms to either side.
Yep.
Okay.
So you walk up to the top of the steps, directly to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's where my little brother and my older brother would stay. The oldest brother and the littlest brother would stay.
Mm-hmm.
Walk a little bit to the left, It might be 3 feet max. There's
on
a bathroom.
on the other side of the stairwell.
Yeah. So like you walk up, you're at the top of the stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
You look immediately to your right. You don't even take a step, but immediately to your right, there's a room.
That's your youngest brother's room.
Yep.
Okay.
So you now start turning like you're gonna because you got to make a left now because there's a wall.
Right.
As soon as you take 3 steps, to immediately there is a bathroom.
Okay.
That's like the bathroom everybody uses.
Okay.
Now you keep walking a few feet immediately, basically to the left when you walk upstairs. There's our room, my brother and I's room.
Yours and Richard's room.
Yep. Me and Richard's
Uncle Dick.
Uncle Dick's room. Wow, that sounded so creepy saying. So Richard and I stayed in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Now you loop around. I can make it.
He's actually drawing with his finger.
So right here's the room.
Mm-hmm.
Come a little bit there. Right there's the bathroom. A little bit over. Right there's our room.
Mm-hmm.
You come down. My mom and my stepdad's room butts up against my brother's and I's room.
Okay, so their room is next to yours.
So you keep coming down. Then you go back around. Because they have the master. It's the biggest room in the house.
Right.
Right here is my little sister's room.
So kind of over where over top of the steps.
Yep.
So like when you're coming up the steps, the room above the steps would be your 2 sisters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Directly right there.
Okay.
So now, right next to my sister's room, there's an attic door.
Mm-hmm.
It goes right upstairs to an attic, which none of us went up. No one ever went to the attic. There's stories. We'll get into that later. But so my brother and I are in our room. We shared a room. So at this point in time, we start feeling a little uneasy in our own room. It's a little creepy, especially at nighttime, where we will lay back, go to sleep, but we'll be waking up. And how do I describe this? So people say shadow figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't quite a shadow figure. So you didn't see an outline of anything. All you saw was just darkness. Like it was just black as black could get.
Was it human form?
No human form. It literally was like a black blob. Like a big, massive, basically smoke almost. Like it looked smoky.
You ever watch Lost?
What's that?
Never mind.
So
Anybody who watches Lost knows exactly where I was going with that, but there was a black smoke monster in Lost. It's a television show.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's
wow.
off topic. I was using that to describe it. So if anybody who's listening has watched the television show Lost, but I think what you're referring to actually has more form than like smoke would.
Yeah. Like I don't want to sit here and say, "Oh, it was a human," because it didn't look human.
It didn't have the silhouette of a human. Like a shadow.
Correct.
Most shadow people have a human form.
100%. Like you can see arms, legs, and all that.
This is like if you just drew like, I don't know how to explain it. I was gonna like draw it with my finger, but that would be non-beneficial for people listening. Just like Cousin It. You know who Cousin It is? Oh, jeez. I'm done with you. I'm done. I quit. I'm done.
Here.
Just like I can't think of an
Cotton balls. So you take a
Okay.
cotton ball. You know how you can stretch a cotton ball out? Make them black.
Okay.
And just basically,
But solid.
yeah, and put a bunch of them up.
So it like if you crudely drew, like if you stood up against the wall with your arms to your side and I drew around your body like that, that's
Yep.
what we're talking about.
Yep.
That I couldn't think of an appropriate. I couldn't think of something that was
Here's
PG.
Here's what made, at least myself, think it wasn't human. It was taller than the door. It went from floor to ceiling.
Really.
Yeah. So in my head, I don't know any human that big. I played with football players, that are 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". Even then, from floor to ceiling, that's like 8 feet.
Yao Ming.
I've never met him. But, and the thing though is that it would start from one side of the room, so it would be right in front of the door. And the way our room was positioned, we didn't have curtains up.
Okay.
So the moonlight would always shine through.
So you did have a little bit of light.
Yeah. So you could always see the door, the walls, and all that. And this wasn't every night, but it was some nights that you couldn't see the door. It was just pitch black.
Like something was in front of the door.
Correct. But then here's the creepy part. You can watch it move from the door to the other side of the room to where there was another window overlooking the weird shed. Never came towards me. Never came towards my brother. But it just You could literally watch it move.
Like it came in through the door kind of and went to the other end of the room.
Here's the freaky part. It never came into the door.
Well, I just was saying it starts in front of the door.
Yep. But,
well, it could have come in through the door.
Yeah, and we just don't know it, right? So,
like, I don't mean it turned the doorknob and came in. I mean it came in through the door.
Yeah, not today, Satan. If I saw, I'm going to be honest with you, it made you hold your breath. That's the best way to describe it. It's scary.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And how old were you? You were about 8, you said?
8 max. Yeah, I was young.
And Richard would have been, what, 9.5, 10?
9.5, 10,
roughly?
Yeah. Yep. And we would watch it. We would watch it. The best way to describe it acted like we weren't even there. But we saw this. Like, what made it even more terrifying was that when it walked away from the door or glided away from the door, you now could see the door.
So you could, even though it was dark, and this is dark, this was like darker than anything else in the room.
Yeah, like,
which is similar to how people describe shadow people, darker than dark.
Yeah, like literally it looked like basically a void. That's the best way to describe it. It literally looks like you're just staring at something black that has no feelings, no emotions, no nothing. Like the best way to describe it, you felt nothing staring at it besides a fear of what is that. That's it.
So it never interacted with you.
Never.
Never acknowledged. I mean, it's not even really a person form, but it never really did anything to acknowledge that you were there. Okay.
Nothing. Like, and that's what made us a little, at least me, made me a little bit more terrified, was the fact that it's not even, we can't even tell you what it is. So when we are younger, when you are terrified of something, you try to describe it to your parents, right? We had nothing to go off of. How do you go up to your mom at 8 years old and go, hey, this black thing in my room just moves? We don't know what it looks like. It's just black, right? So we just, best way to describe it, we just bit the bullet. We just didn't say anything. It would happen periodically. I'm not saying it would happen like every week, but like, it could happen once or twice a week and won't happen at all. But you always felt weird in our room. You always felt like something's watching you.
Whether it was there or not, you felt watched.
Correct. Jump forward to about 8 months. Okay, so now we have footsteps, feeling as if you're being watched. You're downstairs doing laundry, you feel someone walk up on you, then walk up the steps. And then you got this weird black mass that just goes, basically does what it wants. That's the best way to describe it.
Walks through your room.
Yeah, and to put all this in a scope, it's all in 8 months. Like, we're not even like there. You know what I mean? My mom's, so my stepdad, my mom and my stepdad were prepping for his sister to come up to stay. She comes up all the time in July. 4th of July. They also buy some good fireworks, okay? So
I like me some good fireworks.
I do too. So they came up, and where they stayed at, okay, was in my sister's room. They all stayed together. My sister had, I would say, the second biggest room. Like, it was...
The sisters had the...
Yeah.
Other than the master, theirs was the biggest.
Yeah. So, my stepdad's sister's up.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. She is... How do I say? She's a crown jewel. That's what she is. So, she makes you feel warm and fuzzy. All this other great stuff. Her and my mom get along great. So, they're up. And they say it jokingly about the second day they're up. And they go, why are y'all up so late? Like, what are y'all doing? And what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, it was just like a conversation brought up at breakfast. And they go, one of y'all keep running around the top floor.
So the attic. Would that be the attic?
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody's running in the attic.
While we're trying to sleep. Like, what are y'all doing? And that's when my mom's boyfriend and them, my stepdad, tells them, hey, no one's gone up in that attic. Like, that's the one spot we didn't touch. And immediately, they were like, you're messing with us. They said, no, go try to open the door. It's locked. Then you go try to open the door. It's locked. So they now are hearing something up above us.
And just to recap as a refresher, the attic door is next to the room that your stepdad's sister and your sisters are staying in. Like,
yep.
The attic door is next to that bedroom.
Yep. So to even put it a little crazier, she goes, okay, well, who closes the bathroom door? Like, y'all can't be slamming the bathroom door at 4 o'clock in the morning. And we're like, what are you talking about? None of us hear this. She is saying there's someone up above running around. Now there's someone slamming the bathroom door that none of us have ever heard. Mind you, the bathroom door is right by Richard's and I's room.
Right.
So we're like, what are you talking about? Like, clearly, we're not comprehending what you're saying. My mom and them inform her that we think the house is haunted at that point in time.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much a given.
Yeah. She says, okay, packs her stuff up, then stays with my stepdad's cousin. Because she's like, I ain't dealing with this. So she had the whereabouts to get up and go. Now, this is kind of where we get a little, I don't know how to say this, but I guess more worried. That's the best way to describe it. It's because now those footsteps she was hearing in the attic, now we hear them.
So that basically started when she showed up.
When she acknowledged it and said something to us, we were like, nah.
It could be that it didn't even start until after she was there.
That's true. And actually looking deeper into this, which we'll definitely talk about at the conclusion part, new people coming into situations or even people talking about things can make things happen that either have been lying dormant or have been happening for some time just quietly without us knowing. Mm-hmm. So, by the way, I've been looking that stuff up because of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Make me terrified of my house.
Come stay at mine.
No, not today. I can't do it. Nope. Your house would terrify me. So now to put this at the forefront, the conclusion of all. So we're in the house about a year. All this weird stuff's going on. We have doors closing, and I said that really weird, but doors are closing. I feel weird talking about this, I'll be honest with you, but doors are closing. You hear footsteps above you. You hear footsteps on the main steps. Now you hear footsteps on steps going up and down, not only the basement, but the other steps as well. So you hear all this going on. You got the dark shadow figure. You got, just everything you can think of happening. People walking up behind you feeling as if something's up on you. So we're about a year into it, and my mom's boyfriend and my uncle is standing in. So the way it was laid out is there's a dining room immediately, or living room immediately to your left when you walk in, okay? And right behind there was like this other room, I guess you can call it.
It could be the dining room.
All right, dining room. That's right behind my mom's boyfriend. So he's standing there, which leads to the kitchen. And on the other side, basically right as the opening into the living room, my uncle's standing there. And we're all sitting in the middle, like basically up against the wall, having a talk. We're on the couches, they're still standing up. They're drinking beer, talking. We're just shooting stuff, having a good old conversation. And you could watch my mom's boyfriend, my stepdad, shiver. And we're like, what is he shivering for? And then at the same time, maybe a few seconds later, maybe you look over at my uncle, he shivers. He was like, yo, what was that? And my uncle said something. He goes, what was that? And my mom's boyfriend was like, I told you, man, this house is haunted. It's weird. So they said it felt like someone walked through them. So like they were standing there, and my stepdad kept looking back behind him. He said he felt like there was somebody walking behind him, but it actually made him move after a while because it walked through him. He said he felt cold after that. He felt just like he was sweating because the house is hot, but like he shivered because something walked through him, kept on walking, and then walked through my uncle.
So they're in the doorways, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like, in my opinion, it sounds residual. Like it's in a habit. It's doing something. Mm-hmm. So it's walking back and forth, and they're just in the way. And from my understanding, a residual doesn't know you're there. Mm-mm. It's a repeating camera roll over and over and over and over again.
Right.
So you're standing there or not, you're going to pick up on it. So mind you, we're in between them. We're not cold at all. We're fine. We're just sitting there, and we're just like geeking about it, like, the ghosts are messing with you, whatnot, like da-da-da. But
you're real brave in the daylight when it's not happening to you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. When it ain't you, you don't care. I want to put that out there right now. When it's like focused on somebody else, you're like, ha, mofo, that ain't me, that's you it's coming for. So about 2 months later, after this weird walking incident, we had a hurricane come through, okay? And with hurricanes, it does bring tornado-like winds. It actually knocked out the power to our house. So my stepdad and I were like, hey, we're going to go get a generator. So we all jump in the car. My mom lit candles from the kitchen all the way to the living room. The reason for that is because the food and stuff is in the kitchen, and she wanted to make sure everyone could see where they're walking to and from the kitchen.
So, who's gone to get the generator? You, your stepdad, Richard?
After talking to them, they can't say Richard went with us or not.
Okay, so Richard may not have been there.
Yeah, he might not. He either was with us or he was at the house.
Well, he's 10, so he didn't drive off to the corner store.
Well, after looking at pictures, I didn't realize the corner store was that close to the house.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty close.
So, but not in a hurricane. So, yeah.
So, I'm just, your mom's at the house with at least...
My little brother.
The three youngest.
The three youngest.
Maybe Richard.
Okay. So, I'm telling you, Jamie, we weren't gone for maybe 10 minutes max. We went right down the way to the neighbor's house. And the way it's set up, as we're going to
We've seen it on Google Maps.
Oh, yeah.
We have found the house. So
I think after how many hours we were looking? We were looking for a good bit.
It took us a while to find which house it was.
And
we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah. I just wanted to say we know the layout of the road. Like, I have seen the photos.
Yep, we went right down the way to the neighbor's house, who is a great man. Mm-hmm. He gave us let us use one of his generators. So we're coming back up. And we noticed that all the candles are off in the house. So my stepdad's like, that's weird. And then out of nowhere, my mom's car door opens up. And in the car, you see everybody that was in the house that's now in the car. And she goes to tell us that every candle in that house went out after we left.
All at the same time?
We'll get into that in a second. So,
I know. See, I know the story, so I'm...
Well, she gave me some more details. I didn't know about
good. This is good.
So... my mom's boyfriend was like, what? Like, you're crazy. So we all go back in the house. She proceeds to say, no, I'm not joking. She said, y'all left. And my mom was like, Evelyn, who's my little sister, got up with her and said, Mom, something's in the kitchen. So she stood up and looked around the corner, and she said, you watched every candle as something moved towards them go out.
Like somebody was walking through from the kitchen, blowing out each candle individually.
Not blowing.
It
was going out.
I'm saying blowing out, yep. not necessarily that's the motion, but they were going out as if somebody were coming up to them, putting them out each one individually.
Yep. And
not all at once.
Yep. And my mom said after the third one, she was like, all right, if that next one goes out, we're moving. It went out. She said, that next one goes out. So she said about 3 or 4 times. So after about the 10th candle that went out, she said, I'm done. So she grabbed the kids and she was heading out. And she said she did a look back, just to check. And she said at that time, it was like a big gust of wind just. And when it went through, it took out every candle. Every candle went out. Here's the crazy part, okay?
That wasn't crazy.
No. Well, it is crazy. To put more kind of craziness behind it, when you went into the house, it was cold. It was cold.
Was it cold most of the time, even in the summer?
Yeah, yeah. But you felt like you didn't belong. Like something was at that point in time saying, get out.
Something didn't want you there.
At that point in time. So now we're about 1 year and 2 months in. So now let's jump forward to the last 2 months we were there. My stepdad comes home. We're all out with him. I couldn't even tell you what we were doing. This is the straw that broke the camel's back after a million things. We come home. When we come home, my mom, my stepdad have even installed into me to this day is when you leave, you lock every door in the house. Mm-hmm. When you close the door, you push the door.
Right, to make sure it's locked.
Make sure it's there. And you jiggle the handle, make sure, just for reassurance purposes. I do that.
Purposes. I have a little OCD, but that's why I do. But I do the same thing. You lock it and you push on it and make sure it's locked.
Yep. So
and latched.
Yeah, that's it. The latch. Make sure it's latched. So we pulled up, and my stepdad saw that our front door was wide open, and he even told me more in detail that the windows were open, the back door was open, every door upstairs was open, and even the attic door that was locked was open. And he said at that point in time, he came out, he told all of us go inside, get our stuff, put us in the car, and we left. That was it. So he came back, and he was basically, him and the landlord at that point in time got in a verbal disagreement about what was going on in the house. Because Little did I know, they informed me. The landlord said, "Oh, yeah, this was a house that was used in the Civil War as a hospital." And my mom and my stepdad were like, "Isn't that something you probably should have told us before we came here?" He's like, "Oh, people said it's haunted, but I don't believe it."
Yet it sat empty for a while before you got in it.
Yeah. They go to him basically and they lose their mind. They're like, we have kids, like we got this going on. He's like, "Well, anyways, you guys are going to have to get out anyways because I'm going to renovate the house. It's whatever." They're like, "Well, we don't want to live here. We just want our security deposit back. Like, we put a lot of work into this house and, we should get something back in return." So I don't know what happened there.
Right.
So we leave. So after a year and a half in that house, which was, my opinion, it was hell. It was hell. Like, hearing what they were talking, hearing what they deal with, you would think we lived there for 5 years. They were like, "No, it was awful. It was
a lot in a short period of time."
I don't know how to say this, but like, I was young. I'm not trying to say I was mopey, but like, you just felt better. You just felt better after you got out of the house. Mm-hmm. You felt more alive. You felt more rejuvenated. You don't have to worry about stuff as much. So the landlord goes and he starts like cleaning the house up and try to remodel it and whatnot. He wasn't the most incredible in shape person, but he wasn't bad in shape at all either. So he lived on top of the hill. So basically on the mountain. So
he's further down the road.
Well, yeah. It loops up. Like,
yeah.
It loops up the mountain. So he lived at the very tippy top. He was head bucko. As he's there, I'm sorry. I don't know how to say this without coming off too gruesome. Like, the next few things might be a little weird. So if you're, light of stomach or easily squeamish, I wouldn't listen to this next part. But he's remodeling the house. He has no physical ailments like that. He actually had a heart attack in his house during the renovations.
In his house, not in the house you had lived in.
In his own personal house.
He's in the process of renovating the house you guys had just moved out of. He dies in his house. Up the road.
Yes. And my mom and my stepdad confirmed he did not have any medical issues at all. Because apparently they spoke to the neighbor that still lives there, and he brought it up. That's how they found out about all this. Well, he owned a dog, and someone didn't come feed the dog for quite some time, and the dog
ate him.
Ate from his stomach through.
Soft tissue.
Yeah. The only way they found him was that apparently one of his kids came up to check on him because they haven't heard him in quite some time. And the house was supposed to be done, a remodel at a certain time too.
So he was there for a while.
Yes. Here's the even crazier part, which now we found on record that shortly after that, a few years after that, the state took over the house.
Yeah. So it was owned by the estate of your landlord. And then at some point it foreclosed on, it was several properties. And the property that the house was on was part of that group of properties. And so somebody bought it, a company bought it, all the properties for a significant amount of money. And then they ended up giving it to a land trust. So it's not quite the state. It's not a state owned. It's owned by a trust that is there to preserve historic properties, not just houses, but farmland and that sort of thing. So that's who owns the house, and it's almost 5 acres, I think, somewhere around 5 acres is owned by this land trust.
Okay. So now I did leave a part out, but I wanted to bring it up. It does involve our dogs. My stepdad, myself, and my brother were packing up our house. Okay, we were leaving. Mind you, all this is going on. We didn't miss a day of school. Like, we were going to school, coming back, going to school, coming back. So I was coming back home from school one day. We rode the bus. Mm-hmm. We called it the Yellow Turd back then.
Was it the short bus?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. But we had 2 dogs named Axel and Crush. Both purebred pit bulls. Absolutely loved those dogs. The dogs were amazing. They had, they had outside, I guess you can say, dog pens or whatnot.
Like a kennel.
Kennel, basically. Mm-hmm. And we had them chained up, because they would run off. So we chained them up, and we were coming around, and we were, as Richard and I, because he's only a grade above me, we were coming around the bin from being dropped off from the bus, because we had to walk even after being dropped off from the bus. And I noticed one of our dogs was hung. Crush was hanging. His chain somehow got wrapped around his kennel and was hanging. So immediately we took off. I picked Crush up. As I picked him up, Richard undid the chain. And at this time, my mom came out the house and was like, "What's going on?" She swears she checked that dog about 5 minutes before we got there, because she likes watching us get off the bus, making sure, like, you know, she sees us. And the dog was running around perfectly fine. That dog Crush hated the house. He never wanted to go in the house. He didn't like the weird shed area. He hated everything about that house. When we moved, we actually had to give him to somebody, because basically he was an outside dog now. He would never live in that house. He would never go inside that house. And put it out for a year and a half, he never did any of that with the kennel. Ever. Never hung himself, never anything. And then randomly one day, after 5 minutes, somehow the dog did that. Never jumped up on his kennel, never ran around. Like, so the way my stepdad put his chain was that basically it shouldn't get caught on anything. It should never get wrapped around a kennel. He had plenty enough slack. So for him to wrap himself around multiple times, then jump up on to his kennel, and then somehow slide off the other side, all within a 5-minute time frame, that's a little weird to me. And he was the only dog that didn't go in the house. He refused. Every other animal in the house, he's the only one that didn't.
He wouldn't go inside the house.
Refused. That's the best way to describe it. Not saying he got like vicious with us or like that, but like he would just, I don't know how to describe it. He was just like very snappy. Didn't want to be in the house. That's it. Like you say, like, let's go outside. He's running to get outside. You tell him come inside, he won't come inside. People are like, oh, that's normal dog behavior. It's not normal dog behavior when you grab the dog and you go take it in and it's fighting you to stay outside, scratching at the door once you put it inside. So I don't know. That was weird to me. That's why the dogs played a role, which was crazy. I still to this day, none of us understand how that happened. None of us do. So Jamie, what do you think? House haunted or not? Nah. So this is when we get to drop on the viewers that we did a little research.
We did. Because your mom didn't want to tell us where the house was. She wouldn't give us the address.
Yeah, she was not happy. She was not happy that I wanted to go there. I was like, I just want to go take a look. She was like, no, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you? Don't go to that house. It's creepy. So, Jamie, after looking up the house, okay, we looked up the house. What did you find?
So I already mentioned the ownership of the house.
Mind y'all, okay, I love the fact that I got Jamie. That's all I gotta say. Hey Jamie, can you look this up? Jamie emailing, she calling her Black Ops people.
I didn't call anybody. I don't like to talk to people on the phone.
She didn't call her Black Ops people is what she just said.
I just messaged
But Jamie, in a matter of like a day, got more information on that house.
It took me 15 minutes. Once we pinpointed exactly which house it was. See, that's what took the problem, because I'm leaving out any description of where specifically it is, because it is privately, it's owned by the land trust. It's not, I don't want people to. Yeah,
the last thing we want is having a bunch of people bombarding the house.
Yeah, there's neighbors and stuff, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So you told me where it was, and I'm familiar with that area because, as I said, Kelly lives not far from there.
Okay.
I've driven by the area, going not specifically by the house, but by the road that it's on. And so I asked her about, was asking her about a little bit. She's looking on maps. She's sending me screenshots of Google Maps, and I'm looking on Google Maps. But the area's changed a little bit, and it was hard for us to determine which house it was. It wasn't until you started looking on Google Earth and you're like, this is the house. And then I'm looking on it and I'm screenshotting and circling things. Is it this one? Once we figured out which house it was, then I got the address, which the road name is different.
Yeah.
That was different.
That changed.
So once we got the road name and the address, it only was about 15 minutes later, I got the tax information and the property information. So it is owned by that land trust. The house is still there. It is a log home. I don't know exactly when it was built. That's what I'm trying to find now. So I've emailed the archives in at the courthouse in the county that it's located, and they did confirm the house is not far from Harper's Ferry. We've already said enough people aren't going to find it by saying that.
Yeah.
Harper's Ferry had a lot of action during the Civil War, but the woman at the archives did confirm there was a skirmish in the area where the house is located. So even though this is already close to an area, there was actually something that happened in the area where the house was. She couldn't say definitely, but she did say the house, it was likely, it was feasible that the house was used as a hospital. Maybe not a legitimate one, but in some way it could have either been involved, the land was involved or something in a skirmish in that area.
Okay.
So it's not definite, but it's pretty, between the landlord who's property owner saying it, and then she's confirming, there was actually a skirmish in the area, that it's definitely involved in the Civil War in some part. But she was going to try to look up to see if she could get any information. She didn't know that she would be able to find specific year the house was built, or an idea. She said it doesn't always work that way. And in these COVID times, it's kind of hard to go and research stuff because that's not always available right now.
Okay. Now, researching the area, a house caught my attention that was up the way. And actually, I believe it was a plantation, like the person who owned multiple land. The head guy lived at that house, and he was a plantation owner, which at that time, I believed, owned part of where I was at. So there's a chance that it could have been part of a plantation. Possibly,
depending on the age of the house.
Yeah, that's the one thing. We can figure out the age of the house where I think we could narrow down where it was at, what it was used for. Mm-hmm. But
it's definitely a home. It's definitely listed as a single family home. So I don't know if it would be part of somebody else's plantation because it's already a large home. Mm-hmm. And while it's needed fixing up now, it probably was halfway decent back then. So it may have just been neighboring that plantation property.
Now, I will also confirm this. I did not know this. I was talking to my stepdad and my mom. The neighbor down the way that let us borrow the generator and things like that, who is an amazing guy, he confirmed that his house is even haunted.
Which if there was a skirmish in the area...
That's what makes it more...
And there was. That's coming from the woman who works in the archives in the county courthouse. She did say there was a skirmish in the location of the house. Because I gave her the address. She said there was a skirmish there. It's feasible that the house was served as a hospital, but at the minimum, the properties there were probably where the skirmish happened.
And what's crazy about all this is we do plan on going there.
Yeah, we were going to go last night, but rain and the late hour.
Yeah, Tim's kids did not agree with him.
Yeah, and it actually... Kelly, she was going to try to meet us, and I told her, we're not going, we're canceling. I said, I think the rain's going to be pretty heavy, and she says it's pouring. So it actually was raining hard there earlier than it was here, and it moved in quicker than I anticipated. So it would have been pouring when we were there.
Yeah, and I think what we should do, is we need to prep for it, but don't put it out there to the universe when we're going, because... Say we say another time when we're going, is rain comes as bad as it did. I'm going to be, okay, that's something telling us we should be going there. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, the rain's been in the forecast for 2 weeks, so.
Okay, listen.
The rain was in the forecast.
Meteorologists have the greatest job in the world.
I know, they can be wrong. And I had my fingers crossed because it was supposed to rain all day Saturday.
Yeah.
And it kept coming in later and later and later. And I was hoping that we were going to catch it right on the edge where it was a light rain.
Yeah, like a little
and
drizzle.
Not a heavy rain.
Yep.
But then after we're like, no, we're going, and I'm waiting for you, and I'm looking at the radar, and I'm looking at the projected radar, and I'm like, we're going to hit this, and it's going to be raining heavily, and we're not going to be able to do anything.
Ugh.
I kind of already was leaning that way, and I was thinking, this might not be a good idea, and then you text me, you're like, hey, we need to reschedule, and I'm like, that's fine with me. So we do plan on going. I think we need to go when we can see it.
Yeah, I want to take pictures and show.
I'd rather go more during daylight. It doesn't have to be during the day. It could be in the evening. But when there's light, I want pictures of it.
I got to show my wife. I want to go during the day. I want to show my wife what the house looks like. And you know what I really want to see? Is if the fence is still up around the pen that we built. And if it's not, then I want to go see and if we can find long black hairs. If we can find long black hairs, that validates something for me. We will talk about that at a later date if it's there. If it doesn't, it's whatever.
Okay.
I will also say this. I don't think anyone lives in the house.
No, nobody lives there. It's not owned. The house is not occupied.
That should say something. That's all I gotta say.
Well, it's owned by the land trust. They're not using it. They're not renting it. They own it only to preserve the property. And I don't know, by preserving the property, I mean more preserve the land, not necessarily keep the house preserved.
So they say, fuck that house.
I don't know. I haven't. I don't want to contact them until I'm on the fence about contacting them. I'm going to, but I don't want to be like, hey, we have an interest in this house that you have, and then go to the house and, somebody questions, why are you there? And then they, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to tip them off that, hey, we're going to check it out type of thing. But I want the history, and I think they may have it. And I kind of also wanted to say, hey, I'm researching this for a friend who lived here, and he wants to go back and see his childhood home. Is it okay for us to go look at, not go in it, but look at it? Because that would be better to have permission, In this instance, it's better to have permission than ask forgiveness, but I'm willing to do either.
I like the
Let me just put it to you this way.
Okay.
You know my mom.
Yeah, I do.
I said, do you want to go with us? She goes, no, I'm going to stay home. She goes, but I'll keep my phone on in case you need bail money.
God, I love her.
This is literally what she said.
Her.
So I had to text her and say, we're going to reschedule. We're not going. She goes, well, I stayed home just in case you need to call me for bail money.
She's the best.
Because my husband's not home, so...
And I'd be danged if my wife's driving out there.
Yeah.
She's going to be like, you can stay out there since you want to go out your little ghost hunting trips.
Yeah, so, definitely on the list to get that done.
Yeah,
I want to check it out.
And I think that would prove a lot of validation for me that I wasn't crazy growing up. I mean, I'm not crazy. I know.
Well.
Oh, yeah, I'm deaf. All right, look, I'm going to put this out there to all y'all who've been listening. I have a few screws loose. But also what's crazy, too, is the fact that it would... At least now I know that ghosts are there, that there is something out there. But this would validate to me that growing up, that house was freaking haunted.
I mean, I don't think there's a question. It definitely, first of all, I think that proves why there was nobody in the house when you got there and why it was left overgrown and not taken care of very much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's money in your pocket. You're not renting that house out. You're losing money.
It's coming out. Yeah.
So, because you have to, at the very least, if you own the property outright and you don't have a mortgage, you owe taxes. You have to pay taxes. So that is interesting. Plus, he admitted later when you were leaving that he had heard that it was haunted, but he didn't believe it. But hey, guess what, dude? Your house is vacant. You're not getting people to stay in this house. It's a large house. It makes no sense. You know what I mean? Like,
and people at the Quickie Mart down the way did say our house was used as a hospital. They did say that it is haunted. But again, I don't want to put this in there. I'm saying it now because we're just having a casual conversation about it. It's because we can't prove any of that yet. You know what I mean? I mean, we've now have
come pretty close to saying it. Well, if your landlord's saying it and people at the convenience store mention it, I'm going to say it's pretty significant. At the time, before we had the information about the skirmish in the area, feasible that it would have served during the battles that happened in Harper's Ferry. But with a skirmish happening right in the area of the house, it doesn't even have to be used as a hospital. You could just have the fact that wasn't really a battle, but there were issues going on right where the house was. Mm-hmm. So regardless, I think there's certainly reason for the house to be haunted. It doesn't even have to involve the Civil War. It could just be the family that lived in the house, that owned the house. It's their house. They don't want you in their house. But it's kind of like what you described is mostly residual. It's not really interacting with you. So...
Yeah, and that, I'll be honest with you, I'm very thankful for that. Now,
Yeah, I don't think I could have handled dealing with that stuff. And then, I mean, but then again, at the same time, you felt watched and you felt like you weren't wanted there. So it could have been a combination of things.
and that's the thing. I think the residual made itself present. Like, you could see it and feel, but I think there was something else there.
There was like something underlying that knew you were there and didn't want you there.
Yeah, I think it was like, how do I say it? It sent out the stuff that should scare you before it came out to really
Like,
nail
I
it
wonder
down.
what you would have ended up encountering had you stayed there.
And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, what is it? Like, what is it? What would it have been? Would it have been something super scary?
Because it was almost like it was escalating.
That's the whole point, right? It's like,
it starts out mild. You feel like you're not wanted there. You feel like you're being watched. Your mom's got the issue in the basement with something walking in the basement, going upstairs. You're hearing footsteps. You and your brother are seeing that form that doesn't do anything to you. Doesn't approach you or acknowledge you at all. Just kind of almost like it's walking through the bedroom.
yeah.
But then your stepdad's sister comes, and all of a sudden there's somebody running through the attic, the locked attic that you never go in, and there's doors slamming, and then you guys start hearing that. So she comes in, new person, she's hearing stuff. It's like, oh, you're going to bring more people in the house? Okay, so let's start doing this.
Yeah.
And then, the whole thing with the candles going out. That, to me, almost is not residual. It's interacting, like... My question is, are the candles going out because of like the issue with the cold, the cold spots associated with ghosts? Is it specifically putting the candles out? Because this is my way of thinking in that instance. I see that more as an intelligent haunting. I see that more as something, you guys won't leave? All right, we're going to kick it up a notch. And the woman's in the house by herself with kids. Let's do this. And it's slowly putting candles out one by one, and then your mom's like, out of here, leaving the house, looks behind her, and then it like puts all of them out all at once. To me, that's an intentional thing, trying to scare. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that as something just walking by and the candles are going out. I see that more as a calculated thing.
My mom did tell me my sister was traumatized by it, apparently, and she also told me that, you know how when you walk up to a candle and you go to blow on, you see it flicker? Mm-hmm. Or if there's some kind of when it flickers?
Yeah.
There was no flickering. She said it literally just was there.
And it went out.
Gone. And she said that the one thing that really caught her eye, too, other than him doing that, was that there was no smoke. So,
yeah, usually when you blow a candle out, there's smoke from the wick.
Right. And, she said she didn't see smoke. So that means it's whatever's doing it is dark. It's blocking the smoke coming towards her. So I would venture as far to say, I think we would have came face to face with something if we stayed there longer.
I don't know if you would have seen it, but you certainly would have started experiencing more in-your-face activity.
Especially my stepdad even said, he's like, that attic door never opened. Like, he wouldn't even go up there.
To have all the doors, I mean, you're talking like poltergeist activity at this point.
And what's scary about all that is, too, is that, like, I don't want to sit here and try to say that, you look at people like, oh, that guy ain't scared of nothing. Like, my stepdad, he's crazy. I'm going to put that out. He's crazy. He's a crazy guy. But it scared him to the core. Like, it freaked him out. Like, he was like, I'm good. We got to go. We packed up and left then. And they came back and they started doing everything with us. But we would only do it during the daytime. We would never do it during nighttime. Like, it was daytime only. So, I'm being honest here. I think we might have saw something. I think we might have.
I think you were already seeing stuff.
No, I mean, like, I think it would have we would start seeing figures, I think.
I don't know if you would have, it's hard to say how it would have done that, but opening all of the doors and the windows and even a locked door, for me, that's more like poltergeist activity. I think you would have seen things start moving. I think you would have seen stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, who knows what would have happened? But whatever it is, it would have escalated. Yeah. It was already escalating, so it would have gotten worse had you stayed.
And I will say this. The doors. So the doors, again, like, I don't know how strong an entity or a ghost or something has to be to open a door and slam a door. To open windows and doors, open everything up. I would say it would have to be very strong.
It would need a lot of energy, I would imagine.
So
I really think gut feeling is that it was escalating. That it was what really was there didn't really show itself. Like you didn't get the full force, and that it was holding back, thinking if they're uncomfortable, they'll leave. And you didn't. You stayed, and it progressively got to the point where it's using more and more energy. The putting out of the candles would have required energy, you know? Opening everything like that would have required even more energy. So it apparently has the energy. It was just kind of hoping maybe you'd go before it needed it. And I don't necessarily think that it was anything. I mean, we didn't mention it. I mentioned it in the Owlman episode, which is after this one. But I'm editing it now because we're recording this one today. So anyway, it's crazy. We've got so many episodes going that are in the middle of different things.
You are one busy person.
Oh, God. So I don't like to say, oh, it's not human, it's a demon. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but that's not where I go. It's hard for me to go there because I've been doing this for 30 years and never come across anything that I felt was that
demonic.
Yeah, I've never
scary, evil.
Yeah, I mean, I've come across evil. I've come across super scary, but it was explained by the human personality and character prior to their death, and after death, I don't really think that changes a whole lot. If you're an evil, murdering person, you're not going to be a nice person after you're dead. You probably going to be just as evil and nasty as you were as a person. So that's pretty much, because in one of our upcoming episodes, the West Virginia State Penitentiary, case in point, it housed some really nasty people.
Yeah.
When they died, they were still nasty people. So the negative things that I may have experienced there were explained because they were negative people. But I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just also the paranormal TV shows. I feel like almost every time everything's a demon.
Yeah.
And demons sell ratings right now. That's why it's hard for me to say that. I don't necessarily think that that's the case here. I think it's more something just didn't want you there.
Yeah,
for whatever reason. And I don't know that I think if it was demon, it would not have, I think it would have been much worse for you know what I mean? Like, I think it would have been
stopped.
No.
It would have followed us. I mean, that's the one thing that people need to understand. Just because something goes bump in the night or doesn't want you there, it doesn't make it a demon. You know what I mean? You got to think about like some of this stuff, they are people. You know what I mean? And they're living their life over and over again, or they're living in their house. Mm-hmm. Imagine you living in your house now, someone plopping down in your house and be like, I'm going to live here for the next 5 years or next year. They're going to be like, yeah, no, not today. Yeah. Like, you got to get out. So,
and changing the house. See, like, that's my big point in the beginning when you're talking about painting it and calling it renovation. That is usually a thing that even gets things going sometimes. I mean, this started, but you were experiencing issues when the first day, from day one. Yeah. Your mom didn't even unpack everything because she knew.
Yeah.
She was not welcome in that home. So painting and things like that, even just painting, changing anything in a house can stir things up. So that was why I was kind of pointing that out in the beginning, that I don't know that really played a role in this, though, because I think they didn't want you there. It didn't matter what you did to the house. They don't want you there.
Yeah, and honestly, respectfully so. I mean, you got to think about it. That house was empty for at least a few years before we got there. So they got probably used to their normal routine.
Mm-hmm. Why? Why was that house empty for that long? And see, like that, it's a rhetorical question. No. Why was it empty? Why does somebody have a property that they can rent and make money off of, and they just leave it there?
I asked my mom, why, right? She was like, just didn't think about it at the time. She said we needed somewhere to go, and there was somewhere. So
you need some place to go. You can afford it. It's a big house. You have 5 children.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. It's in the country. Who doesn't want to raise their kids in a rural setting with a big yard?
And we can act all rednecky all we want, not get in trouble.
You know, I mean, it's like, who doesn't want to live there?
Yeah.
You know, that wouldn't deter me. I mean, I'm a different person because I would look at that house and be like, no, like. Okay, let me put it to you this way. House hunting, over the years, I've taken my digital recorder.
No way.
Yes. I've taken my digital recorder house hunting. Not in newer houses. They're long time ago, 20 years ago, looking at a house built in the 1800s, an old house.
Ugh.
And I took my digital recorder with me, and the person I was with at the time, they were a little irritated with me, but it was like, I really kind of need to know what's here.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Ended up, fell through, not just the house, but the guy. So, which was a godsend. Anyway.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes. I mean, the house I'm in now, my husband, it used to be apartments, so my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he lived upstairs in the upstairs apartment. So I had already taken recording. There were already things going on, and I had taken recording, so I knew. And we ended up getting the whole house, now a single family home. We've converted it back, but I knew before but yeah, I've taken my digital recorder and used it to find out if I got anything.
Oh, Jamie.
Yeah.
That's funny. You want to know why?
Why?
When I was buying my house 2 years ago, we were going through, that's the first question I asked the realtor. It's, is this house haunted? Has anyone ever died in this house? Has anyone done this? Has anyone done that? And my wife giggled a little bit, but the realtor was like, I don't know. I was like, well, before we buy it, you need to figure it out.
They don't want to figure it out because in some states, I don't know about this one. In some states, if they know, they have to disclose it. And they can get in trouble if they don't disclose it and you find out that they knew and you find out about it. They don't want to know. Like, they don't want you to ask, and they don't want to have to go find out because once they know,
they got to tell everybody.
And it's different in each state. Each state has different laws about, disclosing information and what needs to do.
It's so dumb that they can't tell that stuff. You know what I mean? Because you got to realize you're making a big purchase. Like, you're not buying something it's a few hundred or maybe even a car is a big purchase, but like a $30,000 car versus a $300,000 house is a big difference. So, I don't know. We can get on a whole tangent about that.
I know, we could, but, for anybody house hunting, if they find out, they've got to tell you.
It's basically Elizabeth and I need to take you when we go house hunting again.
Yeah. I'll be the witch doctor. I'm the house hunting witch doctor.
You have to show up in like a voodoo hat.
No, I'm not doing that.
And be like, oh, no. And you gotta be like running around the property like with like little fake skulls and like,
I can bring my sage
and be like,
This is going downhill fast.
Could you imagine what the neighbors would do? Mm-hmm. They're probably like,
oh shoot,
Nancy, look at this woman over here. You think she need to come over here and get you out?
Yeah. They'd be thrilled to have you buy the house.
Does this conclude?
I think this concludes this episode.
And I think it has a ... to be continued.
It does, because we are planning on going out to the property, and we will bring that update. I'm hoping to be able to record while we're out there, so...
Not today, Satan.
It'll be recording in the field, so we can possibly use it as an episode. Even it might be like a mini episode. Yay. And then any evidence we may find. So.
Yay.
Woohoo. I'm excited.
I know you are. I'm petrified. Because that little mechanical device right there.
The recorder.
Is scary.
Oh, yes.
That's not a recorder. That's a mechanical device of evilness.
Well, in my family, we have 5 of them.
Oh, golly.
Yep. So
Jamie,
anyway, that concludes this episode. Is episode 5?
Is it 5?
Yeah, because we've recorded out of order because we re-recorded this one.
Oh,
yeah. So this is episode 5, and it's done. And next week is Owlman.
Owlman.
Yep.
Wow. And don't we have merch?
We do have merch.
Merch.
You can find it. The link is pinned to the top of our Facebook page. There's also a link in show notes for each episode if you would like to get a t-shirt with a really cool logo. And anyway, you can find us at lurkpodcast.com, and that has all our episodes, and it also has links to each of our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'm working on a YouTube channel in my spare time.
You don't have any spare time?
Not a whole lot right now. I've got to get caught up on some editing. So eventually hoping to do that, post episodes there, But anyway, you can find us on that website. You can also email us at lurkpodcast@yahoo.com.
And I hope everyone has a great day.
Keep lurking.